Hey everybody, in this video I'll be going over Module 2, sort of just an overview of the whole module, so you can sort of get an idea of what's expected of you out of this module. This module, whereas the first module looked at literacy, this module is really about looking at genre. And genre, so some examples of genre would be for, the action movie, or the western, or the romance, or something like that. Those are probably, the things most people think about when they think about genres. But genres go beyond that, right? So genres are almost like forms or packages that information or sort of that, I'm trying to way to put this, that art or an idea takes the form of, right? A wedding invitation is a genre because that's sort of the go-to form that anyone uses when they want to get a certain kind of information across, right? So say you're getting married, you want to let people know that you're getting married so they can buy you gifts and come get drunk with you at your awesome wedding reception. So to get that information out, you would send you wouldn't send, a newspaper, or you wouldn't send like a long form letter, right? Because that's not the right genre for the information that you want to sort of get across. So if the information you want to get across is, hey, we're getting married, y'all should come, the right genre for that, or the right form for that, would be the wedding invitation. Likewise, so another example of a genre that you may not think about as a genre would be like the nutritious fact label on on food, right? Like on boxes of cereal or like whatever, right? Like all food that you go to the grocery store and buy, most food probably has like that little label that tells you, how many calories it has, how much saturated fat, yada yada yada. Like that food label is in some ways a genre because it's a specific form that is sort of designed to get specific information across, which is really, in the broadest sense, what a genre is. It's the form that we use. That sound that you probably just heard with me getting an email. A genre is just a specific form that we choose to get information across, really. So this module is about helping you understand genre, and not just any genre. It's about understanding a genre that you've worked in. So in this module, what we will be doing is looking at an assignment that you've completed for another class. It does not have to be a written assignment. It can be, but it can be any assignment. It can be, so say you're taking an art class, right? It could be like a painting or a sculpture. Like any sort of assignment that you've done for a class can be analyzed for this assignment. But really what you're doing is you're going to look at the assignment and you're going to think about, okay, what genre was I writing in, or what genre was I working in? So say if you were doing maybe, perhaps you were, doing some sort of lab report for a science class, right? Like lab reports are a genre. It's a certain form. It has certain conventions. It has certain things that you have to do in order for it to be a lab report. So think about, what conventions or what rules did you have to follow while you were doing that lab report assignment, is really what this is about. There's two reading assignments. David Bartholomew's Inventing the University, which is a real interesting article that talks about how students kind of approach the genre of academic writing. The next one is Irene Clark's A Genre Approach to Writing Assignments, which is just an interesting way of thinking about how to look at assignments not as sort of, I guess, things that you have to do for school, but assignments as sort of genres that you're expected to write in, which is a real interesting way of thinking about it. I haven't posted these yet, but I'll put up sample student genre analysis, as well as peer review guidelines and peer review group breakdowns. Like usual, there will be 4 lectures, with the last lecture sort of detailing or giving a breakdown of the second essay. Like usual, I'll have a discussion board open for optional questions and concerns. You have a required discussion board post on planning your genre analysis that's due on Friday, July 18th. This is a lot like the planning your literacy analysis discussion board, so it should be familiar to you. The second required discussion board posting is the peer review. Similar to the literacy analysis peer review, we'll be following the same sort of format. One reading response that is due on Thursday, July 17th. This reading response is sort of combining both readings into one reading response, but I have a little prompt for you right here that you want to take a look at. And here is the assignment, the genre analysis assignment. So through the lens of David Bartholomew's article, Inventing the University, write a 3 to 5 page, 1,050 to 1,750 word, double-spaced, MLA format, yada yada yada, essay that analyzes a genre you produce for a college class other than this one. So you can't analyze literacy narrative. You should describe the goal of the assigned genre, taking into consideration the following aspects of writing: audience, purpose, conventions, context, rhetorical situation, timeliness, voice, attitude towards readers or viewers if you're doing something non-written, perceived or implied benefits from the community. I'll have 2 videos that break these concepts down into sort of bite-sized chunks, so don't worry about if you don't totally get all of those right now. And also, you don't have to cover all of these in your essay. So for example, if you tried to cover all these in a 3 to 5 page essay, you may not be able to, or you would be going over them so quickly that you wouldn't be saying anything of value about them. So instead, maybe focus in on 3 or 4 of them, or maybe more, maybe less, depending on what you're doing. But just keep in mind that if you don't talk about all these things, it's not going to count against you. Like, I'm not going to have a little clipboard next to me making sure that you talk about all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these things, in your essay. As long as you talk about, a handful, 3 or 4 of them in detail, that'll be good. So, based on these goals, assess your effort to fulfill the genre expectations. Consider what genre knowledge would have helped you at the time of writing or sort of creating, what you knew about the genre and were able to perform, and where you see yourself inventing genre. Incorporate examples from your own writing as well as from your readings on genre in order to help you make your case. Finally, draw conclusions from your study, thinking especially about how the genre reveals values, beliefs, and attitudes about what counts as knowledge in a given field. All right, so I want to go back and sort of explain these 2 things in smaller chunks. So on this first one, really what you're doing is, so every assignment that you do in class, or any class really, is supposed to take a certain form. And while you're sort of completing that assignment, you may not know the conventions of that genre or that form, right? So in those times when you're kind of unsure about, the conventions or the requirements or the rules of whatever genre you're working in, what you're really doing is you're inventing, right? You're sort of making up what you think might go in there, right? You're not 100% sure of what the rules are, which is, totally fine. Like, part of being in college is learning conventions of whatever genre you happen to be working in, right? So if you're going into a science field after graduation, part of what college is figuring out how to produce the genres necessary for working in the sciences. So in college, one thing that you're doing is you're sort of struggling with the rules or the conventions of whatever genre that your major sort of finds itself enveloped in. And as part of that is, or a part of that is sort of you doing things or trying things that you're sort of not so sure about, that may not be exactly a part of the genre that you're working in, but are sort of educated guesses that you made based on what you sort of thought you knew about the genre. I hope this is making sense, but basically, when you're working in an unfamiliar genre, if you come to a place where you're sort of unsure what to do, what many students end up doing is they end up inventing something to fill that hole. Next, I want you to sort of show me, okay, here is where I see myself sort of making up the genre, or sort of inventing the genre, or here's where I sort of wasn't sure what I needed to do, so I kind of filled in the gap with what I thought might be best, and here's why I thought, this might be best. And that last thing, finally, draw conclusions from your study, thinking especially about how the genre reveals values, beliefs, and attitudes about what counts as knowledge in a given field. What I mean by that is, so if you look at, just to make 2, I guess, opposites from the polar end of things, science and religion, right? the kind of writing that is valued in science is very different than the kind of writing that is valued in religion, right? Religion and science really write in two different fields, and thus they write in two different genres. So, the kind of writing or the kind of knowledge that's produced through the writing or through the genres that come out of religious scholarship sort of reveals or hints at what kind of knowledge is valued in that community, right? Likewise, in science writing, you can see based on how that is written, the language that's used, the style of the genre, the format of the genre, that a different kind of knowledge is really, is what counts in that scientific field, right? That's kind of two extreme opposites. But so for example, if you look at the genre, maybe you're in music, right? And part of your music curriculum is writing reviews, So, if you were writing a music review, you wouldn't focus on the scientific frequency of the notes and how that scientific frequency maybe causes some sort of vibration, yada yada yada, right? Because that kind of hardcore scientific knowledge isn't necessarily what music reviews go after, right? They're much more interested in the aesthetics of it, like how it sounds, is it pleasurable, stuff like that, not so much the scientific side of things, right? So based on how things are written, how the genre conventions of a certain field appear, you can sort of make some conclusions about, what kind of knowledge is really important to those fields. Hopefully, the first podcast or the first lecture in this series will help you understand genre. It's more about genre as a concept. But if you're still confused about genre, be sure to either Skype with me, email me, post something in the questions or concerns discussion board. Just make sure to help me, or rather help me help you if you have anything that you need help with. That sounded really weird, but I think it made sense. At any rate, I will talk to you all later.